Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and as you can see, we've got some gang wars taking place today as the Tyrannosaurus Rex are taking on the Triceratops. So basically what these are really cool Bandai figures that had recently come out, and I thought they were just so insanely neat looking and so different from most type of figures that you see nowadays that I absolutely had to have them. And there is actually a second wave out already. I know there's a Spinosaurus in the newer wave. I haven't been able to find them yet to purchase, but once I do, I'll definitely be picking them up. But these are basically like kind of mini figures, but very highly detailed and nicely painted minis. Very exaggerated, obviously. They're definitely not meant to be taken seriously or by any means as accurate versions of the dinosaurs they are meant to represent, but they're also articulated, which I think is, again, really fun. You don't normally see stuff like this where these type of figures end up having articulation. So we're going to actually pull them all apart and then take a closer look at them. So actually, I'm also going to readjust the camera here just briefly. So as I already mentioned, we do have Triceratops and T-Rex in this line. Here is one of the two Triceratops. This is the green version. And again, you've got a good bit of paint application applied. Like you have lighter and darker shades of greens all throughout the figure. You also have some browns that show up there in the frill. And there's also a nice dark wash present on the figure, which helps to add some realism and helps to enhance the paint job, I would say. The sculpt is obviously very exaggerated. It definitely does not look like an accurate Triceratops, but it looks good for what it is. Pretty nice looking, quite vibrant skin texture, very rough and rugged looking skin texture here on the Triceratops. You can see the eyes are painted with a yellow, given a black pupil, and they do actually sport a gloss coat, which is cool. The horns are painted with a brown, a nice light brown. There's actually a little variation to the brown even within the horns, and you can see the dark wash has been applied at the very least to the bottoms of those horns, which again helps to make that detail pop really nicely. You can see it looks very crisp and impressive. And as we move up into the frill, again, the skin texture continues to look really good, very highly detailed, and the paintwork is also, again, really well done. We also have the spikes that move around the frill all painted with a grayish tone, a dark gray, and you see more of that as you move back into the body because we have like some osteoderms that follow through the body and also follow along the spinal column. They're all painted with a gray as well, that same tone of gray that we have up there on the top of the frill, which looks really good. You also, again, have almost like a armored sort of scoot-like appearance moving down along the back of the Triceratops. Very smooth transition when it comes to that green, moving down into the side here with the lighter tones, and you also have a different variation, a little bit of like a more vibrant brown as you move to the underside, and again, that dark wash present down here, which looks really, really good. We as well have the legs sculpted nicely, the skin texture and everything looking honestly incredible in the legs of the figures. We also have the nails painted with that same grayish tone, maybe actually a little bit of a lighter gray compared to what we see up there in the back. And again, painted claws, definitely not a bad thing. As you lead out, you've got a nice little short stubby tail for the Triceratops, and again, you lead around over here to this side, pretty much looking the same as what we had seen on the first side. You do actually have an articulated jaw for the Triceratops once you head inside the mouth. You can see we have a nice tongue sculpted out in there, nice pinkish tone. The teeth are painted. You know, obviously they're just kind of painted in a line, but the fact that they're painted is still pretty nice, and you can see the teeth on the upper side as well painted. Pretty impressive detail. You can even see the throat back there, which is, again, really impressive considering the type of figure that these are. But the jaw works really nice. You do also have neck articulation, which does pop off, but the figures are actually unassembled. When you first get them, you have to assemble them and pop the pieces in. I think with the Triceratops, I think maybe it was only the head that was unassembled. But as you can see, you can get some really nice turns in the head of the Triceratops, like really impressive turns and impressive articulation considering the type of figure that this is. Like, I'm really, really impressed with these as a whole. You also have leg articulation forward and back, which can also swivel and come out away from the body. So they're basically just on like a ball joint. You as well, of course, have rear leg articulation, forward and back, also out away from the body, and no tail articulation, unfortunately. So that's where the articulation ends for the Triceratops. But again, I'm really impressed with how cool these are. And then we as well have a brown version of the Triceratops. So same sculpt, just very different colors, same articulation. Basically, we have different mixtures of browns. We have a darker brown and a lighter brown that kind of battle back and forth all throughout the figure. Like you've got the lighter brown on the lower part, the darker brown as you move up. You also have the, spikes leading around the frill, those horns all painted with a looks like a very dark gray or a black, and you have the same sort of thing as you lead back here again into the osteoderms in the back. The nails are painted again, I would say the same tone of color as what we have up there, so all of the nails are painted on this one also. You do have a lighter tone for the color of the eye, and then again that black pupil, and the brown for the horns on this one looks to pretty much be the same brown I would say that we have down here. So there's not as much variation of color on this Triceratops compared to what we had seen on the green one. I would definitely say the green one is my favorite, but you again have the pinkish tones there for the inside of the mouth and everything, and then of course the teeth all painted. So pretty much the same figure, just very different colors. Then we've got the T-Rex, and the T-Rex is really cool as well. Obviously, you can see some articulation on this one, just like we had with the Triceratops. Again, the sculpt is really impressive. It's obviously not something that's like based on a Jurassic Park dinosaur, which is also fun. For these, you can very clearly see like this isn't, I mean, maybe there might be some slight inspiration, but for the most part, I would say that this is definitely not a case of Bandai kind of creating a figure that looks like a Jurassic Park T-Rex, which is something that you so often see nowadays, which I really like as well. You can see the nostrils sculpted out, a little variation to the sizes and style of scales. You can see a yellow for the eye, nice black pupil, again with a gloss coat. We've got like a reddish tone or like a pinkish tone for the majority of the body of this one as you move up, but then you have like a light brown as you move down. Again, really large, impressive scales for the lower jaw as well. We do, of course, have an articulated jaw for the figure. You've got the teeth all sculpted out in there, which actually look pretty good, and they are painted with like a very dull sort of a white, and they have a dark wash. Now, the entire figure has a dark wash, but the fact that they gave the teeth a dark wash helps to kind of give them a little bit of like a dirty sort of a look, and I like that as well. We can see a pink for the inside of the mouth. We've also got the tongue sculpted out in there that my camera doesn't want to focus on. There you can see the tongue. And the detail again throughout the inside of the mouth all looks really good, and the paintwork is also pretty decent. Like there's not really much in the way of sloppiness or anything, which is also a plus. As you move up into the back of the head, the T-Rex does get a little bit of like an armored sort of a look with like some scoots and stuff following down along the back of the head. Very nice transitioning again as you continue to lead through when it comes to the different tones of color. We as well, of course, have neck articulation, so you can get the head left and right, which looks really good. Also up and down, so you can see from the side how the up and down works. Oh, look at that. When you look at it from the front, the eyes are like, I mean, they're not absolutely picture perfect, but for the most part, they're looking straight forward, which is also really nice for the figure. As you continue to lead down, again, you have that same sort of armored look, almost a little V-Rex-ish as far as the way that they've applied all of these scoots to the back of the dinosaur, kind of larger scales as you move down into the side. You also have a bit of a pudgy belly for the T-Rex as you move to the underside, and again, that dark wash really helping to make all of the detail pop. You also have very nice large legs for our Tyrannosaurus. The musculature is very nicely shown off in the thigh as you move down. It almost doesn't really have a calf, but kind of a little calf right there. And then you move down into the foot sculpt, and yes, the claws are painted, which is nice. And the foot sculpt actually looks really good, a little bird-like as well. You kind of have like some scoots moving down the toes, and the claws painted with a black. Do we have paintwork for the dew claw? We even have paintwork for the dew claw on these little figures. As far as the fingers go, you can see those as well have painted claws, which is really nice. As we move out into the tail, you do have a little bit of like a darker tone that shows up in kind of stripes as you lead out through the tail, just for a little extra color as you lead out. But the figure looks really cool. As far as the articulation, again, we already saw the jaw and neck. You can actually articulate the arms forward and back, and they can sort of swivel as well. So you can put those in pretty much whatever position you would want, which is nice. So we can kind of try to correct the wrists. As you move back, you of course have leg articulation forward and back. It can also move out away from the body. And then you've got articulation right here as well. And basically like the calf region that can swivel, but also goes forward and back. Again, it could create some really cool poses for the T-Rex. And then you also have tail articulation left and right, up and down, and can swivel, just again for a little bit of extra posability for the T-Rex. Now, when it comes to the other Tyrannosaurs, again, all of the same sculpt, just different paint apps. This one has some really nice mixtures of dark browns, kind of similar to what we saw with the Triceratops, actually, because there is a green Triceratops and a brown Triceratops, but there's also a green T-Rex and a brown T-Rex. We just happen to have one extra color variant with the T-Rex, which we saw was that, like, reddish version. But this one does have some sloppiness with the teeth, which we can see, but I can't see that being a widespread issue. We do also have a light brown for the lower jaw, and you can see that light brown moves along the underside of the Tyrannosaurus. We have really nice blue eyes for this one, though, which you can see. Nice black pupil. And the eyes are placed pretty decently there. As we open the mouth, we have a nice pinkish tone, of course, for the inside of the mouth of this one as well. Even almost looks like there's a slight gloss coat in there, helping it to shine, which is pretty cool. And again, same articulation, same type of colors. As you move through, you have basically the mixtures of browns, and then you lead out into the tail, and you have a dark brown sort of striping as you lead through that somewhat lighter brown tail, which is pretty cool. And then my favorite, like the favorite of the Triceratops, was the green. My favorite of the Tyrannosaurs, I think, is probably the green as well. I don't know why. Maybe this just is like a really appealing tone of green to me, but I think they did a great job with the green versions here. Obviously, again, same sculpt, but you have a really nice vibrant brownish tone here, almost like an orangish brown for the underside, and then some beautiful greens with some darker and lighter shades of greens as you move up. And again, the dark wash present on this, just like we had seen on all of the other figures. You even have a little bit of a lighter tone there that sort of like circles around the eye area. The eye is painted with a yellow, given a black pupil, and then again a nice pinkish tone. Now I close the mouth. Nice pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, which looks really good. Again, yeah, this one's not looking perfectly straightforward like the others, but pretty decent. And then again, as you lead through, you've got the painted claws and everything, and pretty much the same style of paintwork as you lead through. You also have a striping effect as you lead into the tail, just like we had with the others. And I love the fact that they give you numerous different versions, like numerous different color variants, but they also still follow the same style, so it kind of looks like it is in fact a pack of Tyrannosaurs, which I think is just really, really cool. But like I said, I think that's my favorite of the three. Now, as far as a size goes for the T-Rex, you're looking at about 4¼ inches, or around 10.5 centimeters. And then for a height just shy of 2 inches, or around 5 centimeters. Now that is in the position it's currently in. You could probably stand it up a little bit taller. And then for the Triceratops, you're looking at lengthwise about 3¼ inches, or a little bit over 8 centimeters. And then for a height, pretty much just a hair over 1.75 inches, approaching 2 inches, but not quite, or heading toward 5 centimeters. So, I just hit the camera. So slightly shorter than the T-Rex. For size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect a Human Being, next to our little Bandai figures here. And as you can see, they are quite small. Again, definitely in the grand scheme of things, pretty darn small figures, but still very impressive for their size. And I don't think we need all that many comparisons, because here's one that I really feel like is going to drive home the size. We have a Mattel Mini T-Rex on the left, and a Captives Mini Indoraptor on the right. And clearly you can see that these figures sit pretty much right there in your standard minifigure size range. So also in pretty much like that capsule figure size range. If you happen to have a lot of those capsule style figures that Bandai makes, you're going to have a pretty good idea of the size of these. So these brand new Bandai articulated mini dinosaurs are super cool, actually. I really like these. I think these are probably some of the most fun Bandai figures that I have had the pleasure of acquiring in a long time, and I absolutely am going to be searching out the next round of these, especially with a Spino in the line. How can I not? But the figures are really impressive. Sculpt-wise, the detail is extremely well done, very highly detailed, especially considering they are just very exaggerated style dinosaurs. The detail is beyond impressive, and it's also extremely vibrant on the sculpts. It really pops in a magnificent way. The paint apps are also, again, beyond impressive for the size of these figures. Like the fact that they put so many different tones of color in, so many different variations and nice smooth transitions, as well as topping it all off with the washes. and painting out all the claws and everything. Like, beyond impressive paintwork for what these are. And they also have articulation, which makes them even more fun because you can now pose them. And again, you can buy them, of course, individually or buy them all together, which is what I obviously did. So then you basically have a pack of Tyrannosaurs hunting down a small family of Triceratops. So you can basically display them and put them into slightly different poses and create a very cool diorama. And again, I think that's also a strong appealing factor of these figures. So if you are interested in these, I am going to include a link in the description to AliExpress where I purchased mine. So check that link, absolutely pick these up, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.